This video was brought to you in part by Moment. When Fujifilm announced the 80mm F1.7 earlier this year, it came with a loaded statement that this was the world's brightest autofocus lens for medium or large format mirrorless digital cameras, and that's quite a headline. When I hear something like that, my ears perk up and I'm thinking, oh really? I can't help but feel the intrigue of what a lens like this can bring to the image creation process, and to go even further, try and find out where the boundaries are of a lens like this. Now, in case you didn't read the title, this is just a first impressions. That means I took and tested this lens out for a short amount of time, and I have some early thoughts and I want to share them while they were still fresh. And I will continue to test drive this thing and put out a more thorough, comprehensive review in the weeks to come. So with all of that said, let's talk about this lens.
But God might be on vacation, and the promised land ain't never promised. My baby telling me to be patient, but the devil always working overnight, my darling.
Lenses for the GFX system are fat, and that's not body shaming because these lenses don't have feelings. Wait, do lenses have feelings? GF lenses are naturally wide to accommodate the wide mount and the medium format sensor you'd find on a camera like the GFX 100S. Now compound this with premium optics, the focusing motor, and a weather resistant housing, and you have a lens that feels heavier than the 795 grams on the spec sheet would lead you to believe. But for what it's worth, it doesn't feel as heavy as the Fujifilm 50mm 1.0, so there's that. Wielding this lens, there's a decent amount of resistance on that focusing ring. I noticed this right away, where you can pull focus manually but not overshoot your subject. I'm going to spend more time with this autofocus, but you definitely notice the focusing mechanism at work as those motors are moving all that expensive glass. In the one studio session that I've used this lens so far, I found myself opting for manual focus more, but I should also say that was a really busy day and we had an extensive shot list, so I'll leave my final thoughts on the autofocus capabilities of this lens for the full review. Now, let's talk about the perspective of this lens. Before I continue, let me just take a moment to thank the team at Moment for sponsoring this video. If you don't know about them, they are the super dope people that made those awesome lenses for your phone, then opened up a full-on camera store online, dropped some pretty dope bags, put out a ton of educational content from your favorite creators, and now selling LUTs and presets from those favorite creators as well. And more importantly, if you are an up-and-coming creator, and this is a big thing, you can join their creator program and start listing products online and driving more revenue to your little empire that you're creating. Over the years, I've gotten to know a few of them personally, and the team there, they're just so passionate about that creative journey. So go ahead, visit shopmoment.com and check out all that they have to offer. This lens roughly works out to a 63mm f1.3 equivalent in the full frame perspective, and that's an interesting space to be in. It seems a bit short for portraits, and it seems a bit too tight for something you traditionally take to the streets. However, this may actually be the strength of this lens. I would just move with my feet to go between a full body shot and a more traditional portrait. Now add to the fact that you might be using this lens with a camera that captures at over 100 megapixels, and you can dial in the composition tighter as needed. And because of that, it's hard to think of this as just a 63mm equivalent lens in the traditional way we view lenses. Similar to the XF 50mm f2.0 review that I produced, this lens feels pretty fluid in that you can use it and hover between various genres of photography and still get fantastic shots. It feels like a Swiss Army knife in that way, where it seems to be performing exceptionally well at several different things, where I'd opt to switch lenses for very specific use cases. So I guess the question is this the lens that's going to be spending most of the time on my GFX camera? It's just too early to tell if this lens will be occupying my GFX 100S most of the time. You see, that camera, it's so purpose-driven for me, and the lens choice, it really comes down to the shot list and the mood board. And with that being the leading factors, lenses like the 110 f2 or the GF 50mm 3.5 favor more closely to a specific outcome and may edge this out at the first pass. But again, still too early to tell. In any case, I think it was an interesting conversation to start, but don't worry, By the time you're watching this, I would have finished writing my review and probably working on uploading it real soon. But until that video comes out, thank you so much for watching. My name's Gadjin, and I'll see you next time.